Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. Find a place where you can be comfortable and still. Perhaps you're sitting, or lying down. Maybe the day is just ending, or the world outside is quiet. Wherever you are, let your attention begin to settle, not on the sounds around you, but on the silence between them. Not on the thoughts passing through your mind, but on the gentle awareness that watches them come and go. We often come to this space carrying weights we hardly know we hold. One of the heaviest, one of the most sticky and confusing, is that feeling we sometimes get when we see someone else shining. When we hear of a friend's good fortune, and instead of a smile, a tightness forms in the chest. When we scroll and see a life that looks more polished, more successful, more together than our own, and a quiet voice whispers, "Why them? Why not me?" The old poets called it the green-eyed monster. In the quiet chambers of our own heart, we know it simply as jealousy. It's a shadow that falls across our own joy. It's a knot of heat and unease that seems to tie our happiness to the fortunes of everyone else. It feels so personal, so immediate, as if it's about them, their car, their praise, their perfect moment. But what if this feeling, this monster, isn't really about the other person at all? What if it's a messenger, wearing a grim disguise, coming to tell us something vital about the landscape of our own inner world? This is what the Buddha, the compassionate teacher, understood so clearly. He saw into the heart of suffering, and he saw how jealousy is a particular flavor of that suffering. It arises from a misperception, a fundamental forgetting of how life actually is. It springs from a place of lack, of believing we are separate and in need of something external to be complete. His teachings offer not a sword to slay the monster, but a light so warm and revealing that the monster is seen for what it truly is, a shadow, and in the light, shadows cannot stand. So tonight, for these next moments, let us not fight what we feel. Let us invite it in. Let us sit with this feeling of jealousy, not as a failing, but as a guest who has come to teach us. We will walk a long, gentle path together. We will wander through stories. Some from the ancient traditions, and many from the simple, ordinary wisdom of a life lived watching clouds, and rivers, and the slow growth of trees. We will find metaphors in cracked clay pots and in the constellations. We will practice turning the mind in a direction it often forgets, towards a joyful appreciation for the happiness of others. This practice has a beautiful, ancient name, Mudita. It is the divine antidote, the alchemy that transforms the heavy lead of comparison into the light gold of shared joy. Our journey will not be a straight line. It will meander, like a river finding its way to the sea. We will circle back to truths, seeing them from new hillsides. We will pause often, to breathe, to feel, to let the understanding sink from the intellect down into the bones. This is not a lecture. This is a companionship. A guided exploration of the heart. So, let us begin with a story. A very old one, from a time when wisdom was carried in tales told by firelight. In a village nestled between two mountains, there were two bakers. Their shops stood facing each other across the dusty main road. The first baker, Alara, was a woman of fierce focus. Her bread was good, hearty, reliable, it fed the village. But her eyes were always across the road, on the shop of the second baker, Kalen. Kalen had a magic in his hands. His pastries seemed to capture sunlight. His loaves were not just food, they were fragrant works of art. People would line up at his door, and the sound of their laughter and praise would drift across the road to Alara's ears. With each happy customer of Kalen's, a seed of bitterness took root in Alara's heart. She began to wake up not to the joy of kneading dough, but to a tight, sour feeling in her stomach. "His ovens are newer," she would mutter. "He uses showy seeds on top. His success is just luck." She spent her energy not on improving her own craft, but on watching counting his customers, wishing for a hailstorm to ruin his day's display. One evening, consumed by this gnawing feeling, she did something she thought might bring her relief. She slipped out and secretly sprinkled a handful of salt into the well from which Kalen drew his water. Now, she thought, his bread will taste wrong. They will see. The next day, the village gathered as usual. But soon, cries of disgust came from Kalen's shop. His bread was inedible, ruined by salt. A crowd gathered, angry, confused. And then, the village elder, a wise woman with eyes like deep pools, walked to the center of the road. She looked from the angry crowd, to Kalen's dismayed face, to Alara's window where a curtain quickly flicked shut. The elder did not accuse. She simply said, "The well has been spoiled for all. Until the salt clears, no one in the village will have sweet water." We all drew from the same source. Alara, hearing this from behind her door, felt a shock that was colder than any jealousy. In her attempt to poison Kalen's success, she had poisoned the shared well. She had tainted the very village that sustained her. That night, under the cover of darkness, she went to the well with 100 buckets of fresh water from the distant spring, laboring until dawn to dilute the salt. She was not seen. But the next morning, when Kalen, with incredible grace, baked a simple batch of bread using the improved water and gave it freely to the village to apologize for the prior day, Alara tasted it. And for the first time, she tasted not his success, but his kindness. And in that moment, her jealousy broke. It broke not because he had failed, but because she saw the truth: their lives were drawn from the same well. To wish poison for him was to drink it herself. This is the first, raw truth about jealousy. It feels like a fire directed outward, but its smoke chokes only the one who lights it. The Buddha's teaching on interconnectedness isn't a philosophy for books, it's the practical truth of the village well. Our minds, our hearts, are that shared source. A mind steeped in jealousy is already drinking the bitter water. It has already spoiled its own peace. If this exploration of turning poison into shared well-being resonates with you, if you wish to walk this path of untangling the heart's knots together, consider subscribing to Monk's Moon Temple. It is a space dedicated to these quiet conversations, to turning ancient wisdom into a lantern for our modern lives. Your subscription is like a gentle nod in the dark, a way of saying, let's continue this journey. It helps this temple of words remain a sanctuary for all who seek it. Now, let us leave the village and look up. Let's consider a different metaphor, written not in the flower of bakers, but in the light of the heavens. We often walk through life believing we are a single, solid star, shining alone in the vast dark. We look at other stars, brighter, clearer, seemingly closer to the moon, and we feel dim in comparison. Why is their light so radiant? Why is my light so flickering and faint? This is the language of jealousy. It is the speech of a star that believes it is alone. But what if this is a trick of perception? What if you are not a single star, but an entire constellation? A unique, sprawling pattern of experiences, memories, talents, scars, loves, and losses. That bright star you envy for its brilliance, it is just one point of light. It does not have your constellation's unique shape, the story told by connecting your dots. Your light isn't just the glow of one aspect of yourself. Your job, your looks, your latest achievement. It is the collective, subtle luminescence of your whole being, arranged in a pattern that has never existed before and will never exist again. The pain of jealousy arises when we take one point of light in our constellation, say, our sense of professional accomplishment, and compare it to the single, blazing point of light in another's constellation that happens to be their professional success. We ignore the rest of their sky. Their hidden sorrows, their private struggles, their own dim stars of fear and insecurity. And most tragically, we ignore the breathtaking beauty of our own full constellation. The practice, then, is to soften the gaze. Instead of staring with laser focus at the one bright star in another's sky, try to see their whole constellation. And then, with great tenderness, turn that gaze back upon yourself. See the vastness of you. The faint stars of childhood joys, the burning red giants of past passions, the dark nebulae of grief that give depth to the whole scene. You are a cosmic event. To be jealous of a single star is to miss the galaxy you are. This is a core teaching of Buddhism, the illusion of a separate, permanent self. We are not a fixed, solitary star. We are a flowing, dynamic process, a constellation in constant, gentle motion. When we touch this truth, comparison becomes absurd. How can a constellation be jealous of a star? It already contains it. Let's breathe this in. Let your mind expand to hold this image. You are not a single point of light, fighting for brightness. You are a story written in starlight. A unique arrangement in the great tapestry of being. Feel the space this creates in your chest. The tight knot of me versus them begins to loosen in such a vast sky. I remember, many years ago, sitting in the forest behind the old temple where I first began to study. I was in a season of fierce jealousy. A fellow student seemed to grasp texts instantly, his meditations were serene, he was praised by the teachers. I, by contrast, struggled. My mind was a busy market, my understanding slow. I felt like a withered sapling next to a towering cedar. One afternoon, overwhelmed, I went to my teacher. I didn't speak of the jealousy directly, I was too ashamed. But I spoke of my feelings of lack, of being less than. He listened quietly, then simply said, "Come." He led me to a clearing where a young maple and a sturdy oak grew side by side. "Look," he said. "The oak is strong, its wood is hard, it provides deep shade. The maple is slender, its wood is different, and in autumn, it sets the forest on fire with color. Tell me, which one is better?" I started to give a philosophical answer, but he shook his head. "It is not a riddle. It is a fact. The carpenter seeking strong beams wants the oak. The poet seeking a metaphor for fleeting beauty wants the maple. The squirrel in spring prefers the maple's helicopters for its playful young. The owl in winter prefers the oak's thick branches for its nest. Their value is not in being better than the other. Their value is in their own suchness. In being completely, utterly themselves. Your friend's mind is like the oak. Yours is like the maple. You are trying to grow hard wood, when your destiny is to burn with color." In that moment, something broke open. The jealousy had been rooted in the demand that I be an oak. When I saw that my nature was maple-like, maybe more scattered, but also more intuitive, more attuned to connections and beauty, the comparison lost its teeth. I was not worse. I was different. And the world needed both. Buddhism teaches this as right livelihood for the soul. To find your own nature and to align with it fully. Jealousy is often a signal that we are at war with our own suchness, trying to force our maple soul to produce acorns. The relief comes not when we surpass the oak, but when we finally look at our own leaves and say, "Ah, this is what I am. And it is good." In a city known for its perfect porcelain, there lived a potter named Anya who was renowned for her flawless vases. They were symmetrical, smooth, and pure white. She took great pride in them, and a sharper pride in noting the tiny flaws in other potters' work. Then, a new artisan arrived. His name was Leo, and he worked not with pure white clay, but with rough, earthy materials. His pots were often asymmetrical, he embedded stones and cracks into them, and he glazed them in wild, unpredictable colors. To Anya's horror, the city fell in love with his work. His flawed pots were called profound, honest, beautiful. Anya's jealousy was a furnace. Her own perfect vases now seemed cold and dead to her. In a fit of pique, she took one of her finest works and deliberately dropped it on the stone floor. It shattered into 100 pieces. She stared at the fragments, expecting to feel victorious in her destruction, but instead, she felt a deep, hollow grief. This was her craft, her pride, in pieces. Sitting amidst the shards, exhausted by her own bitterness, she did something unplanned. She began to glue the pieces back together, not to hide the breaks, but using a golden lacquer that highlighted every crack. When she finished, the vase was transformed. It was more beautiful than before. The network of golden lines told a story of breakage and repair, of fragility and resilience. It had a soul her perfect vases never possessed. She brought it to the market. Leo saw it. He walked over, not with rivalry, but with eyes wide with admiration. "This," he said softly, "this is magnificent. You have found the beauty in the break." Anya, expecting scorn, was disarmed. "I learned it from hating your work," she confessed bluntly. Leo laughed, a warm, kind sound. "The crack is where the light gets in," he said. "You just found your own kind of gold." From that day, Anya became the potter of broken things. She stopped making perfect vases. She started teaching others to repair their shattered heirlooms with gold. Her jealousy had been the hammer that broke her old self. And in the broken place, a new, more authentic artistry was born. This story mirrors the Buddhist concept of dukkha, often translated as suffering, but more accurately, the pervasive unsatisfactoriness of trying to hold on to perfection in an impermanent world. Jealousy is an acute form of dukkha. It is the pain of believing someone else has achieved a permanent, perfect state that we lack. But Leo's pots were beautiful because of their imperfection, not in spite of it. Anya's ultimate masterpiece arose from a deliberate shattering. The Buddha taught that our imperfections, our cracks, our vulnerabilities, these are not obstacles to our happiness. They are the very apertures through which compassion, connection, and true beauty enter our lives. When we see someone else's perfection, we are seeing only the uncracked vase. We are not seeing the hidden fractures, nor the potential for golden repair that exists in every being. Mudita, appreciative joy, becomes possible when we stop demanding perfection, from them, and from ourselves, and start seeing the sacred art in every stage of being. Let's practice this seeing right now. Bring to mind someone whose success or quality sparked a flicker of jealousy in you recently. See them not as a flat icon of success, but as a potter's vessel. Imagine the stresses they carry, the hidden cracks of doubt or fear they mend daily. See the unique, golden lines of their personal history that make them who they are. Now, wish for them, may your cracks continue to let in light. May you find the right kind of gold for your repairs. Feel how this wish, born of understanding, has a different quality than the hot, tight feeling of jealousy. It is cooler, wider, more compassionate. This is the beginning of Mudita. The Buddha often used metaphors of cultivation. Let me share one that came to me during years of tending a small garden at the temple. Imagine the heart as having 4 kinds of soil. First, there is rocky soil. This is the heart that is hardened by fixed views. I am this way. They are that way. The world is unfair. When the rain of another's good fortune falls on rocky soil, it cannot penetrate. It just runs off, causing erosion of bitterness. Nothing grows here but stubborn weeds of resentment. Second, there is shallow soil. This heart is enthusiastic but has no depth of practice. It hears about mudita and thinks, yes, I should be happy for others. But this good intention has no root. When the sun of social comparison beats down, or the wind of old habit blows, the little plant of good will withers instantly. I tried to be happy for her, but then I saw her new house and just couldn't. Third, there is thorny soil. This heart has some depth, some goodness, but it is crowded with the thorns of worldly cares, anxiety about status, obsession with possessions, the endless chase for more. The seed of mudita sprouts here, but the thorns of me and mine choke it. The person may feel a genuine flash of joy for a friend, but it is quickly overtaken by thoughts of, what about my promotion? My home? My life? Finally, there is good soil. This is the heart that has been prepared. It has been softened by the practice of humility, admitting, yes, I feel jealousy. It has been deepened by consistent reflection on interdependence, the village well, the constellations. It has been weeded of the thicket of self-centeredness through mindfulness. When the seed of mudita falls on this soil, it takes root, grows deep, and yields an abundant, unshakable harvest of joyful appreciation. The successes of others become like rain for your own garden, not a drought. Our work is not to magically produce the harvest from rocky ground. Our work is to till the soil of our own heart. Every time you admit a jealous feeling without acting on it, you break up a rock. Every time you sit and contemplate the constellation of self, you deepen the soil. Every time you pull out a thorn of, why not me, and replace it with a silent, may they be happy, you are weeding. Gardening is slow. It is not dramatic. But season by season, the soil changes. There was once a renowned musician who played the flute with such beauty that birds would fall silent to listen. He traveled the land, receiving accolades. In one city, he heard of a simple shepherd boy who, it was said, could make melodies on a simple reed pipe that would make grown men weep. The musician's heart, used to being the sole source of such beauty, clenched with jealousy. He sought out the boy on a hillside. "Play for me," the musician demanded, holding his own golden flute. The shy boy put his rough pipe to his lips and began to play. The sound was not technically perfect. It wavered. But within it was the whisper of the wind through grass, the loneliness of vast skies, the simple joy of a sun-warmed rock. It was the sound of the landscape itself. The musician felt his jealousy melt into a profound awe. His own music was about nature, this boy's music was nature singing. He could have left in defeat. Instead, he sat down. "Will you teach me?" he asked. The boy was confused. "I have no technique to teach." "Teach me to listen," said the musician, "as you listen." So, the boy taught him to hear the rhythm in the sheep's bleating, the melody in the stream, the harmony in the rustling leaves. The musician, unlearning his superiority, began to play a new kind of music. He and the boy would sometimes play duets, the sophisticated flute and the simple pipe, not in competition, but in conversation. Together, they created a music more profound than either could alone. This story illustrates the essence of mudita. The musician's jealousy transformed when he shifted from a mindset of scarcity, "there is only one top musician," to a mindset of abundance, "the world can hold more than one kind of beauty, and together we create something new." His joy in the boy's talent did not diminish his own, it expanded the entire world of music. This is what Buddhism points to, the boundless nature of reality. Happiness, success, beauty. These are not finite pies where another's slice means less for you. They are like music, infinitely expansible. Appreciating another's song adds to the symphony of the world, which you yourself get to live within. Your envy silences your own instrument. Mudita allows you to play your part in the grand, interconnected symphony. Early in my training, we were given a simple task, to find a stone in the river that appealed to us and present it to the group. I spent hours searching, rejecting hundreds, looking for the smoothest, most symmetrically beautiful, most impressive stone. I found one that was nearly perfectly oval and quartz-veined. I was sure I would win. My fellow student, Jiro, simply reached into the water at his feet and pulled out a rough, jagged stone with a single, striking band of iron running through it. It was not conventionally beautiful. When we presented them, the teacher held my smooth stone, nodded politely, and set it down. He held Jiro's rough stone for a long time, turning it in his hands. "This one," he said, "has character. It speaks of the mountain it came from. It has not given up all its history to the river." I was crushed with a jealous humiliation. Later, I complained to the teacher. He listened and then said, "You were looking for a stone that needed no explanation. Something that said, perfection, so loudly it would speak for you." Jiro was looking for a conversation. His stone asks a question, "What is beauty?" Yours tried to give a final answer. The mind that seeks a final answer is a mind that will always be jealous, because it believes in a finish line someone else has crossed. He handed me Jiro's stone. Feel its weight. Its edges. Its story. As I held it, my jealousy began to morph into a curious admiration. I saw its beauty, not in spite of its roughness, but because of it. The Buddha taught that wisdom, prajna, is not about acquiring polished answers, but about developing the capacity to hold the rough, unanswered questions of life with openness. Jealousy flourishes in the mind that demands polished stones, finished, perfect outcomes. Mudita grows in the mind that can appreciate the unique, unfinished story in every stone, in every person. Two villages were separated by a dark, treacherous forest. The first village had a single, brilliant lantern, hung in the central square. It was the pride of the village. They believed it was the only true light in the world. The second village had no such lantern, but its people had learned to navigate by the light of the moon and stars. One night, a traveler from the second village stumbled into the first. He marveled at the brilliant lantern. "What a powerful light you have," he exclaimed. The villagers swelled with pride. "Yes, it is the best light. There is no other like it." But then the traveler looked up and said, "Though it is bright, it is so sad it cannot see the moon." The villagers laughed. "Why do we need a faint moon when we have this?" The traveler stayed. Over time, he would point out the sliver of moonlight that occasionally touched the edges of their roofs. At first, they dismissed it. But slowly, a few began to look up. They saw the Milky Way on a clear night. They realized their lantern, for all its localized intensity, cast deep shadows and could not illuminate the path through the forest. Its light was jealous, it demanded to be the only source, blinding them to the vast, generous, ambient light above. One decisive night, the lantern's fuel ran out. The village was plunged into what they thought was total darkness. They panicked. But the traveler from the second village said, "Wait. Let your eyes adjust." Slowly, as their panic subsided, they began to see. They saw by the moonlight filtering through the trees. They saw the soft glow of bioluminescent fungi. They could see well enough to walk, to find each other's hands. They discovered a light that did not create harsh shadows, but revealed the interconnectedness of all things in a gentle, silver glow. The lantern is the jealous mind. It is the ego's brilliant, focused light on me, my, mine. It is impressive, but it is isolating. It cannot truly illuminate the path to peace because it creates the shadow of the other. The moon and stars are Mudita, the boundless, non-possessive joy that exists naturally when we stop staring only at our own little lantern. It is a light that belongs to no one and is available to all. When our personal lantern of self-concern sputters, through failure, loss, or simply exhaustion, it is not a disaster. It is an invitation to discover the vaster, more reliable light of shared existence, of sympathetic joy. The Buddha's path is the path of learning to see by moonlight. Let's put this into practice. Make yourself comfortable. Let your eyes close gently. Feel the weight of your body supported by the chair, the floor, the earth. Bring your attention to the natural rhythm of your breath. Not to change it, just to notice it. The cool air entering, the warm air leaving. With each exhale, feel a slight softening, a letting go of the day's tensions. Now, bring your attention to the center of your chest, to the region of the heart. Imagine this space as a garden. What is the soil like today? Without judgment, just feel. Is it hard and rocky with fixed opinions? Is it shallow, where good intentions don't last? Is it thorny, crowded with worries about your own life? Or is there a patch of good, soft soil? Just observe. Now, imagine taking a gentle tool. Not a harsh shovel, but a simple trowel. In your mind's eye, begin to till a small patch of this heart soil. Break up any hard clumps of, "I am right," or, "This is unfair." Feel them crumble. As you breathe in, imagine nourishing compost, rich and dark, filling this tilled patch, deepening it. This is the compost of humility, of admitting your own humanity. As you breathe out, imagine gently pulling out any thorny weeds of anxious comparison, of, "What about me?" Feel them release. You are preparing the soil. This is your work. It is quiet, patient work. There is no rush. Now, into this small, prepared patch of good soil, plant a single seed. This seed is the wish for well-being. Not for yourself first, but for someone easy. Picture someone you naturally love, a dear friend, a family member, a pet. Whisper softly in your heart, "May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering." Feel that seed settle into the soft soil. Imagine a gentle rain falling, the warm sun shining. This seed is the beginning of Mudita. Now, let's stretch the boundary. Picture a neutral person, the barista you see daily, a neighbor you don't know well. Their life is their own constellation. Offer the same wish, "May you be well. May you be happy." You are simply wishing for the rain of happiness to fall on their garden too. It does not take water from your own. Finally, the true test of the soil. Bring to mind the person who has been the object of your jealousy. See them. Feel the initial tightness, the heat that may arise. This is the rocky soil reacting. Now, bring your attention back to your prepared patch of good soil. From this softer place, offer the wish. It might feel forced at first. That's okay. May you be well. May you be successful. May your happiness grow. You are not approving of everything they do. You are simply wishing for the end of suffering, for the flowering of good, in a fellow being. Imagine the seed of this wish being planted for them. Notice what happens in your own body when you do this. Does the tightness ease, even a little? Does a small space open? This practice is the watering of Mudita. Do it for just a few minutes each day. Start with the easy person. Work your way to the difficult one. You are not repressing jealousy. You are actively cultivating a more powerful, wholesome crop that will eventually crowd it out. The garden of the heart follows the same law as any garden: what you nourish, grows. In a kingdom where tapestries told the history of the world, there were two weavers. The first, Cora, worked with only threads of gold, silver, and the brightest silks. Her tapestries glittered, depicting only victories, coronations, and feasts. They were stunning, but cold. The second weaver, Silas, used every thread imaginable: the deep black of wool for the night sky, the gray of undyed linen for clouds, the brown of earth, but also the bright threads. He wove scenes of entire lives, laughter and tears, planting and harvest, struggle and rest. The king preferred Cora's work. It flattered his reign. Silas's tapestries, hung in lesser halls, were visited by people who would stand before them and weep, or smile with recognition. They saw their own lives in the full picture. Cora despised Silas. She saw his use of dark thread as a criticism of her radiant art. Her jealousy festered. She began to sneak into his studio, not to learn, but to try to snag his looms, to dull his dyes. One night, caught in the act by Silas himself, she expected anger. Instead, he looked at her with a profound sadness. "You are trying to steal shadows," he said. "But you cannot weave light without them." He invited her to sit. He showed her a half-finished piece. It showed a king, not in glory, but sitting alone, looking old and worried. Next to him, a young gardener was laughing, tending a single perfect rose. Which thread here is more important? Silas asked. The gold of the crown, or the black that defines its shape? The green of the leaf, or the brown of the soil that feeds it? You see my dark threads and think they are dirt. I see them as the ground of being. Your jealousy comes from believing only the bright threads have value. You are trying to weave a sun with no sky to put it in. It hurts the eyes. Cora, for the first time, saw not a rival, but a master of a truth she had ignored. Her jealousy had been born from a poverty of perception. She had valued only a narrow spectrum of experience. She began to learn from him. Her later works, woven with shadows and light, became the kingdom's most treasured heirlooms, for they told the truth, and truth is what lasts. In Buddhism, this is the integration of wisdom and compassion. Wisdom, prajna, sees the dark threads, the suffering, the impermanence, the emptiness of solid self. Compassion, karuna, is the bright thread of the wish to relieve that suffering. Mudita is another bright thread, the joy and the happiness of others. They are all woven together on the loom of mindful awareness. Jealousy arises when we reject the dark threads in our own tapestry and covet only the bright threads in another's. But a tapestry of only light is a blinding sheet. It has no story, no depth, no truth. To practice mudita is to appreciate the entire tapestry of another's life, and in doing so, begin to love the full, rich, shadow and light pattern of your own. Let us walk through a practical, step-by-step path, a map for when the green-eyed monster visits. We will call it the 5 stages of transforming jealousy. Stage 1, recognition and admission, the naming. This is the crucial first step, often bypassed in shame. When the hot, sticky feeling arises, maybe when seeing a social media post, hearing a colleague's praise, don't scroll past or quickly rationalize. Pause. Internally, name it. Jealousy is here. Say it with the neutrality of a scientist noting a cloud in the sky. Ah! A jealous mind state has arisen. This simple act of naming separates you from the emotion. You are not a jealous person, you are a person experiencing jealousy. This is the foundational mindfulness the Buddha taught. It creates a sliver of space between the stimulus and your identification with it. Stage 2, investigation with curiosity, the questioning. Now, from that space, investigate. Ask gentle questions, not to blame, but to understand. What is this jealousy touching in me? What story am I telling myself? Her success means I am a failure. His happiness means there is less for me. Feel where it resides in the body, a clenched jaw, a tight chest, a sinking stomach. Send a breath to that place. This investigation is vipassana, insight meditation. You are looking directly at the nature of the feeling. You often find the rocky soil of a fixed identity, I must be the best. Or the thorny soil of scarcity, their gain is my loss. Stage 3, reframing with wisdom, the re-seeing. Here, bring in the metaphors. Apply the constellation view, this person is a whole universe. I am comparing one of my dim stars to one of their bright ones. Apply the village well, my bitter thoughts are spoiling my own inner peace. Apply the tapestry, I am coveting their gold thread, ignoring the dark threads that give it context, and devaluing my own unique weave. This is where Buddhist philosophy becomes a practical tool. You are not repeating a mantra, you are using a lens of wisdom to see the situation anew, to dissolve the misperception at jealousy's root. Stage 4. Cultivation of Mudita, the planting. Now, actively plant the opposite seed. From the prepared soil of your heart, offer the wish. Start small if you must. If, "May you be wildly successful," feels false, try, "May you be free from the anxiety that success can bring." Or, "I acknowledge your achievement." Gradually work towards, "May your good fortune continue." This is a mental action, a karma of the mind. You are deliberately strengthening the neural pathway of appreciative joy. You are watering the good soil. Stage 5. Integration and self-compassion, the harvest. Finally, turn the light of mudita back on yourself. The jealousy likely pointed to a tender spot, a feeling of inadequacy, a forgotten dream. Offer yourself the same wish. Place a hand on your heart. May I, too, be well. May I find my own path to fulfillment. May I be kind to myself in this moment of struggle. This completes the circle. You are not rejecting a part of yourself, the jealous part, you are caring for the wound that the jealousy was trying, in a twisted way, to protect. This is the practice of maitri, loving kindness towards oneself, which the Buddha said is the foundation for loving kindness towards all others. Walk through these 5 stages slowly, like moving through rooms in a temple. Recognition. Investigation. Reframing. Cultivation. Integration. This is your inner practice manual. At the temple, there is an old bronze bell. When the wind is strong, it sometimes sways and lets out a low, solitary bong. For years, I thought a novice was ringing it irregularly. I'd feel a flicker of annoyance, the schedule was off, the discipline was lacking. One windy afternoon, I saw it. The bell, moving of its own accord, touched by a force greater than itself. No one was ringing it. The wind was. My annoyance was based on a false assumption, self, inside the bell deciding to ring. In that moment, I saw my jealousy similarly. I would see someone's success and assume there was a solid, independent self in there, willfully creating a sound I envied. I ignored the winds that moved through them. Their genetics, their opportunities, their karma from past actions, their struggles, the infinite causes and conditions that led to that moment. They were, like the bell, an instrument being played by the universe. To be jealous of the bell for its sound is to miss the wind. The Buddha's teaching of anatta, or not self, is often misunderstood. It doesn't mean we don't exist. It means we exist interdependently, like a bell existing in relationship to wind, rope, and metal. When we deeply contemplate this, jealousy loses its target. Who is there to be jealous of? A collection of conditions. And who is jealous? Another collection of conditions. The practice becomes about understanding the conditions, not blaming the instruments. When you hear the beautiful sound of another's life, you can learn to appreciate the music of the universe, and perhaps ask, what wind is moving through me? What is my unique song? This perspective is profoundly freeing. In a vast monastery, there was a long, blank wall in the main hall. The abbot announced that 2 artists would paint it, each taking one half. The first artist, Finn, was a master of detail. He planned an intricate mural of the Buddha's life, with thousands of figures and symbols. The second artist, Maya, was a master of space. She contemplated for days, then painted a single, perfect branch of a blooming cherry tree in one corner of her half, leaving the rest a soothing, empty white. Finn worked tirelessly, his section a growing riot of color and story. He glanced at Maya's seemingly empty wall with smug pity, then with growing unease, and finally with a hot, crawling jealousy. She is not even trying. And they will call it minimalist genius. My labor will be ignored next to her trick. The day of revelation came. The monks gathered. They admired Finn's work. It was breathtaking, a masterpiece of technical skill. They praised him. Then they turned to Maya's wall. They did not praise it loudly. They fell silent. They sat before it. They breathed more slowly. The single branch on the vast white field did not compete with Finn's narrative, it created a space for their own. It became a meditation. Finn, expecting a verdict, saw only deep contemplation on the other side of the room. His jealousy turned to ashes in his mouth, replaced by a confused emptiness. The old abbot approached him. Finn, he said gently, you have given us a magnificent scripture to read with our eyes. Maya has given us a mirror to see our own minds. One is not better. They are different kinds of nourishment. Your jealousy was born from believing there was only one kind of art, one kind of success, the kind that fills all the space. She succeeded by knowing what to leave empty. Can you appreciate the skill in that? Can you see that your fullness and her emptiness together make this whole complete? Finn looked from his crowded, brilliant wall to her vast, peaceful one. He saw that his jealousy had been a failure of imagination. He could only see value in his own language of abundance. He had to learn a new language, the language of space, of restraint, of implied meaning. He bowed to Maya, not in defeat, but in recognition of a wisdom he did not possess. And in that bow, his jealousy transformed into a student's humility. This parable speaks to the Buddhist concept of sunyata, often translated as emptiness. It doesn't mean nothingness. It means that things are empty of independent, fixed existence. Maya's wall was empty, but that emptiness was full of potential, peace, and space for the mind to rest. Finn's jealousy arose from being full of his own view, his own effort, his own story. He could not value the empty half. Our lives are like that hull. We spend so much time painting our section with achievements, acquisitions, and identities, and we look with envy at others' brilliantly painted sections. We forget the beauty, the necessity, of the empty spaces, the quiet moments, the simple breaths, the unspoken understandings, the potential yet to be filled. Mudita allows us to appreciate not just the other artist's painting, but the profound wisdom in the way they use their space, which is entirely different from our own. In an arid land, there was a gardener named Kale who cultivated rare desert blooms. He was proud of his ability to coax beauty from dryness. His neighbor, Ren, cultivated lush, water-loving ferns and orchids in a shaded greenhouse, using a complex irrigation system. Kale despised Ren's garden. It's not real gardening, he'd scoff. It's artificial. He just throws water at it. My plants have character, they have struggle. His jealousy was a dry, prickly thing. He wished for a drought that would expose Ren's fraudulence. One year, the drought came, fierce and long. Kale's hardy plants survived, but barely. Ren's greenhouse, with its stored water, became a vibrant oasis. The village, parched, began to visit Ren's garden just to sit in the humid green and remember what moisture felt like. They called it a sanctuary. Kale was furious. His jealousy now had a righteous edge. During a drought, such waste. He confronted Ren. How can you hoard water for ferns when people are thirsty? Ren did not get angry. He looked tired and sad. Come, he said. He led Kale into the greenhouse. It was cooler. The air was thick and sweet. I do not hoard water from the village. I collect the runoff from my roof, every drop. I recycle it. This greenhouse is a closed system. But you are right about one thing. It is a sanctuary. The elderly come here to breathe easier. The children come to see green. It serves, just differently than your garden. He pointed to a spout. In fact, the condensation from this roof collects here. I have been using it to water the 2 public trees by the well. They are alive because of this system. Kale saw the 2 trees, indeed greener than anything else in the public square. I hated your garden, Kale admitted, because it was everything mine was not. I thought your ease was a cheat. I see now that you simply understood a different set of rules. You created a different kind of gift. Ren nodded. Your garden teaches endurance. Mine teaches preservation. The village needs both reminders. We are not rivals. We are 2 sentences in the same prayer for life. Kale left, his jealousy washed away not by rain, but by understanding. He had mistaken a different path for a personal insult. He began to trade cuttings with Ren, a hardy desert succulent for a delicate fern. Placed side by side, they each made the other's beauty more striking. This story embodies the Buddhist principle of upaya, skillful means. There is not one single path to awakening, or to a good life. Ren's method was not worse or better, it was skillful for his conditions and his intentions. Kale's jealousy was born from the delusion that only his kind of struggle had value. The Buddha taught 84,000 different Dharma doors because there are 84,000 different kinds of minds. When we see someone thriving via a different path, Mudita allows us to appreciate the ingenuity of their upaya, their skillful means. It widens our own understanding of what is possible. Their success does not negate our path, it enriches the map of human potential. Let's take another pause. A deeper one. Close your eyes. We are going to move from the garden to the forest. Imagine your mind, your heart, your entire being as a complete, ancient ecosystem. There are tall trees of your convictions. There are bubbling streams of your creativity. There are dark, rich soils of memory. There are sunny clearings of joy. And there are also swampy patches of fear, rocky cliffs of pride, and shadowed thickets where old hurts live. This is your inner wilderness. It is complete, balanced in its own wild way. Now, imagine jealousy as a particular creature in this ecosystem. Perhaps it's a quick, sharp-toothed animal that lives in the thicket. It's not evil. In the full balance of the ecosystem, it might even have a role, to sharpen awareness, to signal a boundary. But when it gets fed too often, when we toss it the scraps of our constant comparisons, it grows large and invasive. It starts to roam outside its territory. It frightens the gentle creatures of peace and contentment. It muddies the streams of clear thinking. Your work is not to hunt this creature to extinction. That would upset the ecosystem. Your work is the work of a wise forester. You observe it. You understand its territory. You see what it's feeding on, maybe the rotting fruit of not enough, or the carrion of past rejections. Then, you gently change the conditions. You stop leaving out that food. You plant new, healthier food sources for other creatures, the creatures of mudita, of contentment, of self-respect. You cultivate the clearings. You clean the streams with mindfulness. Over time, the ecosystem rebalances. The jealousy creature returns to its natural size and range. It becomes just one part of a vast, diverse, and thriving inner world, not the dominant predator. This is the long-term view of Buddhist practice. We are not at war with ourselves. We are stewards of a profoundly complex and beautiful natural system. Every time you practice mudita, you are planting a wildflower in a clearing. Every time you admit jealousy without acting on it, you are refusing to feed the invasive species. Have patience with this stewardship. Ecosystems change with the seasons, not overnight. Consider this: a dusty mirror cannot reflect clearly. When we are consumed by self-centered thoughts, my status, my wants, my losses, our mind is like that dusty mirror. We see others through a film of our own preoccupations. Their success appears as a smear on our own lack. This distorted reflection is jealousy. Mudita is the act of polishing the mirror. The wish for another's well-being, sincerely offered, is the soft cloth. With each stroke of, "May you be happy," a little more dust, the dust of me and mine, is wiped away. As the mirror clears, something remarkable happens. We begin to see others more clearly, as they are. But we also begin to see ourselves reflected in a truer light. We see that our happiness was never dependent on dimming their light. We see that our capacity for joy is magnified when it reflects their joy. A clean mirror doesn't own the images it reflects, it simply presents them, luminous and clear. The Buddha taught that a purified mind is like a perfect mirror, reflecting the suchness of all things. Jealousy is a distortion. Mudita is a polishing agent. We are not trying to change what is in the mirror, we are cleaning the lens through which we see everything. When the mind is clear, the natural, unobstructed response to another's happiness is joy. It is not forced. It is the simple, clear reflection of a fact: happiness exists. And in a clean mirror, that reflection adds to the light in the room. In my early days of scribing texts, I had a precious bottle of deep blue ink. I was very possessive of it. Another novice, clumsier than I, once knocked it over, ruining a page I'd worked on for hours. A rage, hot and sharp, filled me. It felt like more than ink was spilled, it was my effort, my time, my specialness. My jealousy of other scribes who worked without interruption morphed into outright anger at him. I complained to the master scribe, expecting sympathy. He looked at the ruined page, the spreading stain. He said nothing for a long time. Then he dipped his own brush in the spilled pool of ink and, on a fresh sheet, began to paint. With a few strokes, the chaotic blot became the shape of a mountain against a twilight sky. He added a tiny, graceful bird flying towards it. He handed it to me. "The ink is not wasted," he said. "It is just part of a different picture than you planned. Your anger assumes the only possible painting was the one in your head. The universe often has other ideas." He then said to the clumsy novice, "And you must learn mindfulness with the possessions of others. Now, you will help him re-prepare his page and grind new ink together." We sat in silence, grinding. My anger and jealousy slowly ground down with the inkstone. We created a new color, deeper than the original. The page we eventually produced together was more beautiful for the collaboration. This incident taught me that jealousy and its cousin, anger, are often a protest against life not following our personal, rigid script. We have a plan for how our success should look, and how others should look in relation to it. When someone else's action, or mere existence, spills ink on our plan, we react with the heat of betrayal. But the master scribe embodied the dharma of adaptability, of non-clinging, of finding the art in the accident. My jealousy of others' smooth progress was a clinging to a fantasy of a perfect, uninterrupted path. The spilled ink was the reality of interdependence. My work was affected by another's action. The practice was to make something beautiful from the new conditions, together. This is the heart of community, Sangha, and it is the antidote to the isolation that jealousy creates. We have wandered a long path together. We've visited villages, hillsides, forests, and studios. We've spoken of soil, constellations, tapestries, and mirrors. All of these are fingers pointing to the same moon, the understanding that releases the heart from the prison of comparison. Jealousy is the pain of the river believing it is in competition with other rivers, resenting them for their speed, their width, their course. It feels lack because it has forgotten its destination. Mudita is the river remembering it is all water, all flowing home to the same vast ocean. Another river's powerful current does not diminish your flow, it is part of the same great movement. When you rejoice in its journey, you rejoice in the nature of water itself, which you also are. The Buddha's path is a path of remembrance. Remembering your true nature is not a small, fragile self that needs to be defended and elevated. Remembering your connection to all things. Remembering that joy, like water, is not owned, it is shared, it circulates, it nourishes. So as we come to a close, let this not be an end, but a beginning of a new kind of attention. When you feel that old, familiar tightening, that heat of the green-eyed monster, smile inwardly. Ah! Here is my teacher. It has come to show me where I have forgotten. Where I have contracted into a separate star, a single point of light. Use it. Go through the 5 stages. Till the soil. Polish the mirror. Wish well. Practice mudita as a silent, inner revolution. When you see someone shine, let your inner whisper be, "How wonderful." The universe is expressing joy through you too. In that thought, you join the symphony. You become part of the constellation. You add your unique gold to the great tapestry. Your competition is only with your own yesterday's understanding. Your victory is the expansion of your own heart. And in that expansion, you will find a happiness that cannot be threatened by anyone else's good fortune, because it is the happiness of belonging to the whole. You are the river. You are the constellation. You are the soil. You are the mirror. You are the weaver and the tapestry. Remember this. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. And may you find joy in the happiness of all beings. Thank you for being here, in Monk's Moon Temple. May your path be gentle, and your heart light.